Project Zomboid is an incredibly tough game to learn. The most minute of mistakes can bring down the heavy punishment of exhaustion, injury, or in worst case, the end of a playthrough altogether. All that being said, eventually, most players learn the ropes and start to crave that struggle they felt when learning the game for the first time, to have their abilities pushed and tested. And in this video, I'll cover 5 of the best mods for veteran players looking to push their survival skills to the limit. If you find the video useful or find something to try in your own playthroughs, drop the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. Now, to kick things off, I wanted to start with a fan favorite, a popular go-to for testing even the most hardened Project Zomboid survivor is the Cryogenic Winter mod. This mod does, well, exactly what you're probably thinking it does, pitting you against not just the wandering dead of Kentucky, but the sub-zero temperatures of a nuclear winter. Heat will naturally be a constant concern, forcing you to seek it out several times a day and making progress incredibly tough in the early stages, due to the fact that you won't be able to go too far from places of warmth. The cold isn't just a threat in the most direct of ways either. You'll find that your survivor will need more food to cope with the harsh conditions, and keep in mind that when your character is feeling the chill of winter, their attacks will be dramatically slowed, hampering their combat abilities and ultimately meaning they won't be able to take on more than a couple of zombies at a time until you can get properly equipped for the weather. This makes starting out in a Cryogenic Winter run absolutely brutal, since you'll almost constantly be cold and will likely have a less than ideal weapon on hand. Now, I'm not going to give away any tips for surviving the setups in this video, because I know a lot of players will likely want to experience it for themselves first, before needing to seek out help. But I have actually already done a video on Cryogenic Winter in the past, which I'll leave linked in the description for anyone struggling to make it. Next up, in complete contrast to the first mod mentioned in this video, is Atomic Summer. As you'd expect, the challenges you'll face in this situation will be entirely different to that of Cryogenic Winter, and yet somewhat the same. Where in Cryogenic Winter you'd be looking to grab as many extra layers of clothing as possible to survive the harsh temperatures, in Atomic Summer you'll be looking to cut out as many as possible instead. This might sound easy on face value, but keep in mind that clothing ultimately means protection against scratches, lacerations, and bites in Project Zomboid. The less you wear, the more chance one of those attacks is going to get through and wound your character, sometimes fatally. In a playthrough that includes Atomic Summer, yes, the temperature is going to be a major threat, but this gets increasingly worse when being out in the sun for extended periods. For that reason, you'll be bouncing between buildings constantly to shelter from the scorching rays you'll be subject to outside. Again, it sounds simple enough, but what happens if you attract more zombies than you first thought, smashing that window? What happens if you set off a house alarm when breaking in? Do you choose to stay indoors and potentially back yourself into a corner, but keep yourself out of the sun in doing so? Or do you risk heat stroke fighting in a more open environment where you'll have more room to maneuver? All it takes in a run like this is one wrong decision and you're right back to the main menu. Alright, so on to the next one. The mods I've mentioned thus far are based around making the setting of Project Zomboid itself more challenging, but for the next one, we'll be moving away from the setting and looking at the zombies more directly. Now, if you're watching this video, you've likely already tried to make things tougher for yourself, and a good way to do that is by enabling sprinters, but there's a couple of mods out there that can enhance that choice, and biggest of all is the mod known as They Fear the Sun. With this mod, you'll be doing your best impression of Will Smith in I Am Legend. All you'll need is a rifle and a mannequin named Fred to make that experience truly special.
The hell are you doing out here, Fred? How did you get out here? If you're real, you better tell me right now. Damn it, Fred!
By adding this mod, you're essentially creating the same types of zombies as seen in that setting too. They'll walk during the daytime, and most of the time they'll remain entirely indoors. The mod isn't perfect, and there are a few exceptions to the rule, but it makes for some kick-ass atmosphere when you sneak into a house to find that the zombies are hibernating during the day, completely inactive aside from the guttural groans they're letting out every so often. Careful though, make too much noise or disturb them directly, and they'll come right back to their flesh-hungry selves. This mod makes watching the clock and using your time efficiently an absolute necessity. If you stay that little bit longer on a scavenging run and end up out and about when the sun goes down, you're going to wish you'd not stuck around and tempted fate by grabbing those last few bits of loot for your backpack. All those zombies that were hiding indoors will come out to play, and they'll be ready to tear pieces out of you. Getting back to your safe house before night falls is imperative to survival. Now, you might be thinking that you'll just avoid going out at nighttime and stay home for a late night reading session when the sun sets, right? Well, the thing is, going out at night isn't the only risk here. Think about it. When the sun comes back up, all those zombies that are trapped outside will be looking for a place to shelter again. And if your safe house is the closest building to them at the time, well, you're going to have some uninvited guests on your front porch. All of a sudden, Project Zomboid becomes a pseudo-based defense game. Again, I'm not going to spoil the fun by giving tips in this video, but make sure you're ready to defend your home with this one, however you decide to do it. Other ways to enhance this sort of playthrough can come from the vanilla sandbox settings themselves. If you really want to put your survival skills to the test, give the zombies in your game the ability to open doors. It's absolutely terrifying, but can seriously enhance a night sprinter's setup just like this one. Next up, I'm going to cover a couple of the best maps I know for not only giving you a fresh place to explore, but also put you on the edge of your seat and test your limits in doing so. First up is the map known as the Forest. This map drops you into an environment consumed almost entirely by wilderness, meaning you'll be left without the usual crutches for Project Zomboid's survival that you'll be used to. Weapons aren't as easy to come by, and the same can definitely be said for food and water, which you'll likely have to use things like foraging or fishing to get around. Essentially, this map tests your survival and crafting skills like no other. Now, for the best experience here, I'd recommend using a handful of other mods that I used in a relatively recent Wilderness Survivor video that we put up on the channel. It'll allow you some extra clothing options focused around bushcraft and giving you alternatives to things that otherwise you may only be able to get through incredibly rare finds on zombies. I'll leave a link to that video in the description so you can check out those mods for yourself and get a look at some of the gameplay of the map itself in action. The second map I wanted to bring to the table in this video is one that I've absolutely loved exploring in my own time and has a good amount of replayability to it as well. Spies Facility 7 comes with multiple ways to play and specific objectives for you to complete in order to fulfill your ultimate goal. As for difficulty, yeah, you're going to get plenty of it here. Thanks to Facility 7 being constructed from cramped corridors, laboratories, and testing chambers, you'll find that almost every fight is going to put you on edge. Threats lurk around every corner, and all it takes is looking the wrong way when entering a room to see the end of your playthrough. Obviously, I don't want to spoil too much about the challenges you'll face, especially considering this map takes a more quest-based on-rails approach to the whole thing, but it's worth a download and can be as much fun as it is challenging. So that's all the mods that I think can really give you a challenge and a new scenario to try your hand against in Project Zomboid. But I did just want to cover one last thing before I wrap up this video, and that's some of these scenarios you can do within the confines of vanilla Project Zomboid to test your skills. A lot of players tend to gloss over some of these when jumping into the game, or just don't even realize there are such things to change the game pretty extensively without the use of mods. These scenario options are specially crafted to provide you a unique challenge, whether it's a new map like Kingsmouth, a wave defense style challenge mode, or the notorious CDDA scenario that pits you against just about the very worst situation possible within the vanilla game. Consider giving these a try before you move on to mods, but be prepared for a potentially infuriating experience because the devs did not mess around when adding these to the game. Some of these are seriously tough. That's about it from me in this one, folks, but I did want to invite you guys to share some of your favorite mods in the comments focused around giving players a challenge. It can be a map or something entirely different. Just drop some mod names in the comments. Once again, I'd like to give a very special thank you to all of my Patreon supporters who are helping me to create some Project Zomboid mods with the help of some very dedicated modders, and who are playing on our Project Zomboid Patreon whitelisted server. Couldn't do this without you folks, so thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.